I'm Tabitha Rock.
And I'm Sam Davenport.
Born and bred in Melbourne, we live and breathe property, and we know the Melbourne market like the back of our hand. We've both been buying and selling real estate in Metro Melbourne for over 2 decades combined, and we've learned a few lessons along the way.
Okie dokie. Sam, welcome back. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah?
Property culture.
Oh my God.
I love it.
Can I just tell you a little hack
Go
that
on.
I've come across on my iPhone?
Go on.
So Android, not sure that this can do anything for you.
Oh.
And this is a real side note, sorry, not related to property, but a
I don't
life
even
hack.
call it a phone anymore. I call it an iPhone. Nothing else exists.
Oh, right. So you're doing the whole Kleenex when you want a tissue.
Oh, yeah, or Uber when you want a car.
when you cab.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know how you're texting someone, you make a mistake and you're like, oh, and you're trying to put the cursor, like scroll it back. You just hold down the space bar in the message and it acts like a little keypad.
What are you saying? Let me see.
Oh my God, it's amazing. And then you can just go to exactly the spot and correct it. An
Oh,
18-year-old,
yeah.
an 18-year-old just taught me that. I was like, Jesus, I'm going to tell the oldies that listen to our podcast about it. So there
love
you go.
that.
Hot tip coming at ya.
Love that. Keep
but
coming.
we're not here to tell you about iPhone hacks.
No.
We're here to tell you about selling hacks.
Selling hacks.
Yes.
Hacks for selling property.
Real estate in Victoria.
Yes.
And obviously you've all listened to all of our episodes or across what we do, but we do buyer advocacy, obviously, that, you know, takes up a lion's share of probably the clients we service, maybe 70%. But there is quite a large portion, maybe 30% of clients that we help on the selling side called vendor advocacy, where we sort of work with you as an independent consultant from start to finish, interview the agents right through to campaign management and help you sort of work out, is the agent, you know, a friend or a foe, right through to making sure it sells and sells for a great price. But you know, if people don't want to engage us, I just thought it was really helpful for people, you know, they might have a tenanted property, an investment property, which is a lot of the properties that we're seeing come to market at the moment. And they're like, oh, should I sell it? Should I sell it vacant? Do I have to style it? You know, there's that digital styling now. So with the photos, it looks like it's styled. But then when you walk through the property, you capture the buyers. Yeah. It's actually empty. I mean, You're the queen vendor advocacy queen. So I just wanted to chat about what your recommendations would be. What are the sort of things that you would think about for someone? I mean, even down to if I'm living in my property and I'm thinking, oh, should I sell with living through it? Yeah. Or, you know, you're telling me this bedroom needs to be turned into an actual bedroom. Can I do part styling? Or do you want me out and you want to style it all? Yeah. So where does this sort of, I mean, there's a lot of questions there.
Where does it start and stop? And the thing is that you can sell a property in any state. You do whatever you want to do. You put it on the market, you put a price on it. Technically, you can sell that property. But the difference in what you can get as a result can be dramatically different. Mm-hmm. And just to give examples of, you know, under $1 million, maybe you might get 500 or you might get 630 and you might have spent 20 to get the extra 130. Yeah. Or maybe you might get 5 mil or you might get 6.3. You know, there's huge disparity that can occur in results. And that has to do with how the property is presented, how the property is taken to market, who is selling the property, timing of the market, obviously. There's 101 factors that contribute to a good result and a bad result. And so if you are going to go it alone, go for it. If you're not sure, if you have any confusion about the process, just call us, because to have us involved as your vendor's advocate, we take a split of the agent's commission. There is no upfront fee to have us involved. So we can make sure that you're going to get the extra, whatever else is out there. Yeah. We want you to have the best result of the block, the best result on the street, the best result of the month in the suburb. And we know how to make that happen.
The recipe for success.
There's a recipe. There's an absolute recipe. So, you know, selling a property tenanted versus vacant, completely dependent. All of these things are completely dependent on circumstances. Like I 9 times out of 10 would love to sell the property vacant. So more often than not, we serve a notice to vacate to the current tenant with notice of intent to sell, which allows us to, at the end of the tenant's lease, give them 65 days notice to vacate. Then we can sell the property empty. So if
they're on month to month, you still need to give them that 65 days notice. A lot of people don't realise that if your tenants are on just a month to month lease, they're not locked into a contract, you still need to give them 2 months notice.
Yeah.
It's not 28 days notice. They can give the owner 28 days notice to move out. But one key thing to remember, people in Victoria, is as soon as that notice of intent to sell is issued to tenants, they can turn around and give you 14 days return notice and get out. And that's despite them being in a fixed lease.
Yes, exactly.
So a lot of owners think, oh, great, I've got rental income coming into X date. But as soon as you send that notice off, they can be out in 2 weeks.
Yeah. And there's a couple of reasons why we prefer to sell the property vacant versus tenanted. One of the main reasons is that our market in Melbourne at the moment is driven by owner-occupiers. We have very few, if any, investors buying property at the moment. So the allure of a tenant being there or the lease in place is only in relation to an investor. So for an owner-occupier, all it does is it forces a slightly more uncomfortable inspection whereby they're seeing someone else very much living in the home. I don't want to generalize, but more often than not, the property is not as well presented as if it were if we prepped the property for sale. That goes in owner-occupied and tenanted. So how the presentation is can have a huge effect on the outcome of the perception of value of the property, let alone the end result. So a client walks in and the property's dirty. That's
clothes horses out. How many tenanted properties? But they just do washing day on inspection day.
But if a property is physically dirty, as in we're talking grime on the doors, skirting boards covered in dust, that is a detail clean for any, let's use a 2-bedroom townhouse as an example. A detail clean on a 2-bedroom townhouse will cost about $850 using my cleaners. That could go way higher than that. But a detail clean on a property like that is about $850. The perception of the value of the property from when it's dirty to when it's pristine is massive.
Oh my God, 50
You can
grand.
imagine, yeah. So it's like a tenanted property, we are unable to, and by the way, whenever I do sell a tenanted property, I always get a cleaner in and we pay for it.
Yeah.
But you can't do a detailed clean with a tenant in place. So the presentation affects it. The fact there's a lease in place affects it. And sometimes you'll have tenants who make it really difficult to access the property. That affects it. We have people, you can imagine, we have buyers who work. They're at work. They're buying property. They're busy. They've got money coming in.
Yeah.
So they need to look at property when it suits them. So say, for example, they're like on a Tuesday night, can I come in at 6:30 tonight? Tenanted property, not a chance. We've got to give them at least 24 hours notice. So it makes it more difficult in more ways than one. So yes, I would prefer to start vacant.
Sometimes the selling agent isn't even the managing agent.
Exactly.
So that is another layer.
layer.
But even still, like if you're selling a property that's tenanted, don't just necessarily use your managing agent. Like that's not the key to success.
That is not the key to success.
No, but that does, if you choose to sell with someone different than your managing agent, then the tenant might get offside but you can incentivize, and in fact you have to give the tenant
$85 per inspection or something crazy.
Or a percentage of their rent.
Or, whichever is higher,
Yeah, so you need to understand that. But there are other ways to sort of incentivize and give them week off their rent, cleaner provided, flowers delivered, that sort of thing, just to try and encourage them to keep it a bit neater. But all those other factors you mentioned are so critical. Like you try and buy a tenanted property and it's near to impossible.
It's tough. It's definitely tough. And back in the day, we used to sell in Richmond heaps of tenanted apartments. They were always being sold to investors though. So it was an easy transfer, and actually it was more attractive to an investor to have a tenant in place. So we used to offer those tenants 2 weeks rent free, and this was before we do the payments.
Compensation.
Exactly, but 2 weeks rent free. cleaners, flowers, and some sort of little gift.
Yeah.
Just because we get it. It's bloody annoying
I
having
know.
people come through twice a week, every week for God knows how long.
I met a lady last night that had been kicked out of 4 rentals in a row for the owners selling.
That's tough.
And I was like, but then the alternative is you live through a campaign which is painful, and then the new owner,
Kicks you
wants
out.
to move in and gives you
Yeah.
notice to vacate anyway.
Yeah.
So I felt horrible for her.
Yeah. So whether or not you're going to sell tenanted, it's dependent. If you need to sell a property and there's a very long lease in place, you are going to take a huge cut on that value of that property. So,
but also, I had a potential client call me, he's overseas and he's like, oh, should I sell with a tenant? I was like, well, how does a tenant present it? Give me your latest condition reports. Because if some tenants
are beautifully presented, very house proud. I'm like that.
Yeah, very house proud. You could sell with them. And so if you can sell with the tenant in there and they're just on month to month, so you can get vacant possession with 65 days notice, that sometimes can be a great outcome for the vendor because they don't have this massive lengthy time of a vacant property. They haven't had to style it. All they're paying, for is the marketing. So
exactly.
It is property dependent. There's not one blanket answer for this, but it's just food for thought.
It's food for thought. Yeah, exactly. There's never a blanket answer. We bought a property recently for a client with 4 months left on the lease. And, she was there during a couple of inspections, beautifully presented, lovely tenant. And the lease was in place and it was the right house for my client. So we bought it and they were in their own rental. So it all made sense. But we were the only buyer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah.
And we got it for a good price. So.
Yeah. And this is the thing. You have to accept the fact that you're going to have to sell for a discount if there is a long lease.
Exactly.
But I think, you and I were selling agents. We would rarely sell a property just vacant, like no
Empty.
hire furniture, empty.
Yeah.
Like it's because people don't have imagination. That's where I see it.
Yeah. The only time we would ever sell, or even still now I sell property empty, is if it's a dilapidated house that we've done a really basic cleanup on. So say, for example, this is not what we do because this would break the house, but it's almost like you high pressure hose the inside of the house.
Yes.
So you're just making it safe and comfortable for people to walk through, but the house is potentially not worth keeping. In that case, you just sell it with empty rooms because the photos that you're using online are drone photos of the land. They're showing proximity to what's nearby, et cetera, et cetera. The selling point is the land, not the house. So that is the only scenario in which you wouldn't style a property.
Yeah.
Every other scenario, whether you are an owner-occupier, whether you have the tenanted property, whether the property is vacant, if you want to be the worst presented property on the day for a buyer who's looking at 5 properties in a row on a Saturday and you're the most poorly presented, if you want to be that person, don't do anything.
Yeah.
But if you want to play the game with your competitors and your competitors are the comparable properties that are all for sale on the same couple of weekends as you are, you need to be as well presented as you possibly can. And you can't compete with professional stylists and the way in which they'll make a bed, those people, my goodness me.
Yeah.
They're gorgeous.
Yeah. Well, I was actually thinking, so just going back to that empty house. So I went through a property recently and it had the digital furniture. And then when I went through the property, it was vacant, which I actually thought was like, if you want to save a bit of money, that was a good tactic to just get people there. But I really did think it undersold the apartment when you're in there because you're still walking around it not really being able to place the furniture.
Yeah.
And people have little vision oftentimes. That's why we love hire furniture. That's why hire furniture companies are like booming and they're so stylish and got the coolest stuff and they look like a Vogue living centerpiece. Yeah. Because just it sells it. People buy into the furniture and I walk through with clients through immaculate homes and I'm like, imagine this without furniture though, because
I
that mirror's
know.
coming off the wall.
Yeah,
that
it's
cool
broken.
print is coming off the wall. This amazing couch is not going, and the rug is going.
Yeah.
So just strip that all back. What do we have? What sort of home do we have?
The point of styling is to sell the dream, sell the lifestyle, to help people see themselves in it, because even though it's filled with furniture, it's no one's personal items. So there's no soul in it in a way. So it's a blank canvas for people to walk through, and then everyone likes to think they live like that. Very few people do.
Very few do.
Like we go into people's houses for a job and everyone lives like you live. Everyone, not you, like the people. Everyone lives like the people. Everyone has, the pile of crap on the bench next to where the home phone used to be, whatever that corner of the house is, that spot. Everyone's got that, and that's normal. That's life. But when you're selling a property, nobody lives here.
Yeah.
This is perfection. You are perfection. If you buy me, we be perfection together. It's like literally like trickery, but it's incredible the difference that it makes. I mean, I have very difficult conversations with all of my vendors because it's tough, man. It's a big process. It's particularly if they're living there. And now we're saying to them, none of what you own is going to get people to feel that way.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's tough pill to swallow. And it's not a personal thing. It's like I'm saying, you got to take the soul out of it.
I think a lot of people are becoming aware of that. And so they're like, oh, yeah, I've got to declutter. And then they declutter. And we're like, yeah, do that another four times over. Like that's not even touching the sides.
Yeah. We do not want to see a face.
No.
If you have pictures of people...
Yeah.
They gotta go.
They're like, oh, we'll clear off the fridge. Don't worry. I'm like, oh, that's the least of
your problems. I don't want to see a toy unless it's in a perfect rattan basket in the corner of the baby's room. It's very specific.
Yeah.
And so for people to have to do that themselves can be way too overwhelming and too big a job. So we get teams of people to come in to do the decluttering, to do the storing, to do the packing away. And then we get another team to come in and do the cleaning. And then we get another team to come in and they do all of the styling. So part styling, we use your bed frame. Yes, you've got a 3-bedroom house and you're only living in one. Your bedroom frame, your mattress. They bring all their linens in. They do the beds. Anyway.
Well, there's been a property that you sold that actually the owner was living in it and you did sort of part styling. Talk us through what that looks like. Is that common?
Yeah.
Is that a good option for people? Like when would that work for people if they don't have pets or they can have pets in a part style? What's the go?
So the ones that I have part styled, so I've part styled almost all owner-occupied properties that we've sold in the last few years. And all of them have just so happened to be either single people living in the home or a couple living in the home, no pets, no kids.
Mm-hmm.
So in that scenario, they're living in one bed, sleeping in one bed, obviously, living in mostly 1 to 2 rooms of the house. And often in their most used space, I'll keep their furniture there. So their couch, their, in their main area. But if they have a second formal living, we might completely restyle that room.
Right.
So it just depends. We work around what their living zone is for comfortability. They've got to live there. And don't forget, when the property sells, all of that furniture gets removed and now it's just empty spaces everywhere.
Gosh. Just shut the doors. Like that part of the house doesn't exist.
It's wild. And it's a huge, but and I say this to them, the reason why we do it is because I believe and I see time and time again, the financial difference it makes is huge. And I just say to them, you tell me what you're comfortable with, either this or this, because this is the goal and this is what we need to do to get there. So they come in. So for example, on their bed, the stylist will come in. They'll do their full styling just with the doona or the coverlet and all their pillows. We take a photo of that, send it to the vendor, and then underneath that is the vendor's bedding.
Wow.
So every open for inspection, the vendor has to make the bed with the photo back,
Oh, wow.
putting it all back. So it's a lot. It's a big commitment.
Yeah.
But it is what people expect to see.
I mean, when people are selling and they live in the home and they've got, 49 children, 49 pets,
Yes.
I often say to them, like,
Move out.
You might go insane.
So
Just really think about this. Think about the private inspection. Not only do you have the 2 open for inspections a week, the private inspections, the building inspections, the getting the grandparents through. This is going to be tough.
Do
you have a house you can stay at for a couple of weeks? Because don't forget, it's only the 4-week campaign. Then you can come back for that period of settlement.
And any of the houses that we've sold where there are young families in the house, every time, thankfully, they have had somewhere they can go. And it's always obviously a parents or a grandparents or an aunties or a beach house or whatever, we deal with, a certain group of people, but they do have somewhere to go.
Yeah.
And so I recommend to them always, you guys move out for the sale. And also I get them to move out of the house in the majority of their stuff gets packed away, put into storage.
Yeah, because we're you're moving anyway.
So you're just doing it now.
Yeah.
And then we do the part styling with what's left in the house.
Yeah.
They come back once the property's been sold, part styling goes out, and they live a little bit more minimally in the house until settlement. So
don't forget, you need to fold those sheets that are in the linen cupboard and make it all cute. You can't be just shoving everything and closing the door and praying to God the door doesn't burst open. People are wanting to open those cupboards. So you need to declutter the unseeable.
And 9 times out of 10 with the young families who are moving out of whatever property it is, it's because the property is too small. So they really are bursting out of the seams. And 9 times out of 10, the buyer for the house is going to be them minus children, just before they have kids. So the cycle will continue in that property, but we don't want to show that young couple that you're bursting out of the seams.
Yes. We're selling a dream.
Selling a dream.
Selling a future. Love it. Such great food for thought, I think, because we do get the question, especially at the moment with selling the tenanted property, how to do it.
Yeah.
And I think it's just understanding all the various factors, all the moving parts, what can go right, what can go wrong, what can be the reason that, what the difference is selling it this way in price-wise, emotional,
turmoil,
load. So anyway, but if you want to just streamline it all, give us a buzz. Anyway, let's wrap it up with an F, marry, kill. And we've been talking about family homes. So I thought I would do a little suburb situation of family homes. What are we effing? What are we killing? What are we marrying? Ashburton.
Yeah.
Surrey Hills or Bentley.
Okay.
Give it to me, girl.
Eek. I mean, I love them all.
No.
I do.
See?
Okay. I love okay. I don't know. Surrey Hills I love because it's so beautiful, but it's just not where I am.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm going to have to kill Ashburton, which I don't know. I feel bad about that because I love it there too. I don't know now. Bentley's too flat for me, but it's got great accessibility to my life.
Yeah.
So maybe.
So we're doing this for you, not for clients.
Me. Okay, for me.
Yeah.
For me, I have to marry Bentley because I can't move to Surrey Hills or Ashburton.
Yeah, okay.
So I'll marry Bentley. And then I'll F Ashburton, and then I've got to kill Surrey Hills because it's too far out of my life.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I'm definitely flipping all of that. So I'm marrying Surrey Hills. I'm effing Ashburton because it's a bit of a vibe, Ashburton.
I love it there.
Yeah, people are like, oh, I'll go to Glen Iris. I'm like, have you considered Ashburton?
Man.
Hello?
Just that step further away from the freeway noise.
Yeah. So true. Oh, my God. And, I'm killing off Bentley because that's just seems like a sleepy hollow for me down there.
But Centre Road's going off, man. Centre Road is going off. And you've got the train line.
Dandenong Road.
Oh,
it's not.
Dandenong Road you don't cross.
Nah. You can't even get me to Balaclava these days. Yeah, I know.
Okay. That's all right. I'll accept.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed that one.
Bye.